Paranoid would be, just kind of general suspicion. Everybody's out to get me. Everybody's against me. Okay, it's that person, right? A schizoid personality, you can notice if they seriously avoid any kind of social interaction, seem completely indifferent to any kind of social cues.
Schizoid or a schizoid?
Schizoid.
How do you spell that?
Schizoid.
Okay.
Schizotypal, okay, it's on the schizophrenia spectrum. It's not full-blown schizophrenia, but it's kind of on that spectrum. And with that, you see much more real severe social anxiety and paranoia and kind of magical thinking, odd dress, odd speech, those kinds of things.
Okay.
Antisocial personality disorder, that's what you see with criminals, right?
Okay.
So it's people who really just don't care about the feelings or rights of others. They really don't have empathy.
Is that considered a psychopath?
Colloquially, you call it a psychopath. The actual clinical term is sociopath.
Sociopath.
Okay.
Got it.
The next one is an avoidant personality disorder. That's somebody who's just seemingly extremely shy. They always feel inadequate and they can't express or control their feelings, and they just avoid interaction as much as they can.
Okay.
A dependent personality really needs the aid or encouragement of others to even function. They're constantly looking for
So beyond being a codependent.
That's right, beyond being codependent. They're just constantly looking for others to
I know a few of those.
Right, to encourage them to do what they need to do, or, to aid them in doing it, right? Obsessive compulsive personality disorder, which is one I think a lot of people are a little familiar with.
And they relate to it too.
Right, where people engage in very repetitive behaviors or thought patterns, and it's very hard to control. Histrionic personality disorder, where somebody's very overly dramatic and attention-seeking, is constantly doing things to draw attention to them, but probably, kind of very outlandish dress or, very outlandish kinds of attention-seeking
Okay, Judy,
behaviors.
you don't need to tell me I have this personality disorder. Okay, I understand. I get the drift. I have that. Do I have that disorder? Let's be honest. You call it histrionic?
It's called histrionic. The two which I think are probably the most recognizable to the audience, in other words, they've heard the most about them, are borderline personality disorder, which is very unstable emotions, very reactive, especially when they feel abandoned. And these are people who swing between idolizing somebody and then tearing you apart. You're like the worst ever. Okay, it's that person where they kind of flip on a dime. Okay, 1 minute you're just the best, right? And the next minute you're total trash.
You're the worst.
Right, okay? But it's not, somebody with bipolar disorder, those kinds of mood swings are very cyclical. This is not cyclical. This is someone who gets set off by something specific that triggers them.
But is it chemical still?
And it's usually, these are more genetic than chemical, and we'll get into that in a minute, but, and also things that have happened to them in their lifetime. It's a combination. But with the borderline, they can be really charming 1 minute and then attacking you the next.
Interesting.
Okay? It's that. And it's set off when they feel abandoned, okay? So if they feel you're leaving them, like you're in a relationship and the other person says, I'm out of here, I'm not taking this, right? The second they say I'm out of here, this person just flips. I mean, really flips, right? Because I'm being abandoned. Or even if the person says, I need a timeout, they're going to feel like they're being abandoned. Okay, it's that, right? So that's the borderline. And then the narcissistic personality disorder, another one that most people are a little more familiar with, have a very inflated view of their own self-importance.
I wonder who that sounds familiar with.
Yes, and frequently at the expense of others, including the whole country, right?
And then the whole country is that, I'm not going to say any names, but we all know who I'm talking about.
And, they very much come from that, there's only one way to do things, and my opinion is the only one that actually matters.
Is that opinion huge?
Is it my way or the highway?
Is it my way or the highway?
It's my way or the highway, but it's also more, there's only one way to do things, and I'm going to tell you what it is. And I'm only telling you because you need to know that there really is only one way to do things.
And they really believe
They
that.
really believe that. That's correct.
And if you don't believe them, then you're crazy, right?
Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's that.
Mhm.
Okay. So it's not the more of the parent who's overly aggressively controlling of the child.
Micromanaging.
It's not that. It's much more a personality.
Yeah.
That is not just my way or the highway. It's my way because it's the only one that makes any sense. It's the only one.
But to that,
There's no room for anyone else's opinion.
interesting.
Okay? Or input.
Or input.
Right.
And because you don't want that input or you don't believe in that input, then you
They won't take it in.
exactly.
Right. So the only way to deal with someone like that really is first you have to make them right because they won't hear you if you don't make them right. So you have to make them right, and then you can tell them why you disagree. But first you got to make them right, and you also have to convince them that whatever you want to do is going to reflect well on them because that's really all they care about is how it reflects on them.
Of course, narcissistic.
That's right. So, the causes of all this stuff, there's usually a genetic component, and then there's frequently a combination of that with an early dysfunctional life at home, abuse, neglect, that kind of thing. But again, it doesn't have to be abuse. It could also be neglect. I mean, there's lots of things that can happen in the household. And, different signs, somebody, depending on the personality disorder, but, eccentric, dramatic, erratic, anxious, fearful. Drug and alcohol dependencies are common co-occurring disorders, and depression, suicidality are more common, and mood stabilizers as well as cognitive behavioral therapy are helpful.